everybody. And now let's talk automation. Hello, hello. Happy third Thursday, everybody. I've already given Kieran the warning, but fair disclosure, in the post-COVID world, we have a snow day today. So if you hear really aggressive bumps or see a small child show up, don't be alarmed. I know that they're here. There is supervision upstairs with them, but I feel like I need to give that preface out before I'm shooing a small child away during the conversation today. My name is Ema Roloff. I'm one of the two hosts of the show for you today, and we are going to be talking about how to use technology and specifically AI to really recession-proof manufacturing space, and why pulling away from technology investments is probably not the right choice as we head into maybe a bit of a tough economic climate. Kieran, I'm going to start with you today, which I normally don't do for the introductions, and then we will go to our lovely guests. But can you say hello to everybody and give them a quick intro?
Yeah, very quick intro. For those folks who don't know me, I co-host with Ema. I've been in the technology business space. I talk about both for the last 3 decades, which probably says more about my age than my capability, but looking forward to today.
Wonderful. So then now we're going to go boy, girl, boy, girl. Kate, I'm going to come to you. Can you say hello to everybody real quickly?
Yes, hello everybody. Thanks so much for having me on this third Thursday. Super excited to be here and talk about some best practices for recession proofing our manufacturing friends for and using AI to do so. So thanks so much for having me.
Great. And last but not least, Manny, can you say hello to everybody and give a quick intro?
Hello, everyone. Ema, Kieran, thank you very much for having me on the show. I think the last Thursday of 2022. So it's got to be a good show. Hi, everyone out there in the audience. My name is Manny Bernabe. I am an independent consultant. I work with small manufacturers based in the U.S., and I help them increase productivity, boost sales, and increase competitive advantage in the marketplace using data and analytics. Previous to my role as an independent consultant, I was at an AI IoT startup where I helped to build out an AI team and did a lot of fun stuff across many different types of industries. So excited to be here and excited to jump into this very important topic.
Well, great. Thank you both for joining us. And as always the case, we love it when folks who are joining us live come into the comments, tell us who you are and where you're joining from. And of course, any questions or anything that you guys have as we go through the discussion, we'll do what we can to address those comments live, but then also it gives us an opportunity to keep the conversation going after our pretty short half an hour together. So Manny, I want to get started by coming to you and talking a little bit about the idea of lean AI and lean analytics, because we've all in the manufacturing space heard the term lean used in all different types of capacities, but I want to bring it in and apply it to AI and analytics. So can you start by sharing like a little bit about what that idea is and why it's something people should have on their radar?
Absolutely. Yes. So firstly, I think a little bit of context here. As we head into a downturn, maybe counterintuitively, but manufacturers need to be doubling down on analytics. You know, what is analytics going to help you to do? They're going to help you be more efficient, more effective. They're going to help you get rid of waste. They're going to help you think about what the true customer demand is and how you're going to meet that demand, maintain your market share, and stay competitive. Analytics is going to help you do all of that work well. So analytics is definitely going to be something that you're going to want to invest in as we're moving into a downturn. Now, there are some challenges in doing that. Typically, I see the lack of in-house expertise. There are data silos. There's a lack of visibility on the ROI. It's hard to coordinate different groups within a manufacturer's organization to all move in the same direction. So there's some major challenges. But I think that in manufacturing, you have a good framework in lean manufacturing that we can look at and take those principles and apply them to the world of analytics and AI. So what are those? So when we look at those principles, there are 5, but there are a couple that I want to call out. The number 1 principle in lean manufacturing is to identify value. It's to start with value. And I can't tell you how important That is when it comes to thinking about analytics, AI, and machine learning. Oftentimes what I'm seeing folks come to me and they say, hey, Manny, I have this great model. Here's the data. Here's how it's scoring. Here's a precision. Here's a recall, make this better. And my question is, well, okay, yeah, the score looks great on this model, but where's the economic impact for this? Where's the value? What's the customer that we're making value? What problem are we solving for that customer? And I get blank stares sent back to me. And so that tells me that folks that are working on analytics, manufacturing projects don't spend enough time on that core principle of lean manufacturing within analytics, which is identifying the value upfront and early before you get into the technology, before you get into the data. And that's so important because there's so much you can measure on a manufacturing floor. There's so much data. There are a lot of models out there. There are a lot of great technologies to use within the AI and machine learning world. You don't know which one of those data sets, those models, those technologies are going to be helpful. There are too many. You don't know which one you're going to go with or which one you should go with unless you start with that key step of identifying value upfront and having everything else orient around that particular objective and those set of criteria that you're setting up for your team. So I won't go through all the 5 principles of lean manufacturing. We talk more about that, but I got to say that's the number one thing that as you're looking to launch an analytics project, and if you're looking to leverage the lean manufacturing philosophy, identifying value from the customer's perspective, from the user's perspective, that's got to be number one on your agenda as you're launching a new analytics project.
Thank you. And that kind of just reminds me of this overall idea within innovation and intelligent automation is, the learn fast mentality and not being afraid of having some failures that teach you lessons along the way. Because just as you said, Manny, you don't really fully understand it until you've gotten started. So I think that that's a really important point to make. And especially, again, as we're heading into this recession, there's a lot of fear that comes with the uncertainty of potentially failing. And so it's an important reminder for all of us that you can't be afraid of that if you actually want to innovate, and you can't stop innovation because you're going to end up in a worse place down the road if you kind of put a pause on everything. So thank you for that. So Kate, now I want to come to you and talk about probably another big hot button issue within the world of manufacturing and probably every industry at this point. We're hearing less and less about the Great Resignation, but talent is still hard to come by. And specifically in maybe more legacy type industries, when we start to kind of pull together resourcing for these types of projects, it can be difficult to make sure that we're assembling the right folks. Can you talk a little bit about how to make sure that we've got the right resources allocated and the right momentum behind a project when we're using AI?
Of course. Yeah, so absolutely. It's the people, and the irony isn't lost on me with everything that's come out about AI replacing us, but people are really critical in order for this whole digital transformation to ever be successful. I think in any industry, like to your point, the biggest gaps are actually in data analytics space, as well as that skill set combined with business acumen. So folks that are well aware of the business needs, as well as having very analytical backgrounds, are in very high demand for the success of digital transformation across, I think, every organization. So those are good skills to have or catch up on if you can. And then when it comes to filling those talent gaps or making sure you have the right people, there's usually a couple approaches that you can take to be successful. It's most likely going to be a combination going into the recession, especially. Whereas in the past, maybe it was more focused on internal in-house talent, but now there's also going to be a focus on outsourcing and making sure that organizations are very strategic with who they partner, and also a lot of shorter-term contracts, because a lot of this work will be something where you'll want to partner with an expert in a certain technology, let's say. And then once you're up and running, you'll be good to go. And over time, technology will change. So that process will be a continuous process. But the point being is you can still outsource and supplement to help improve your agility, help fill talent gaps. And it's especially important when it comes to cost savings in this upcoming potential recession, because you'll basically, if you need to hire 500 engineers for the transformation, maybe you have an additional 50 that are actual long-term employees, but you can still outsource some expertise to supplement for that initial hurdle.
Great, thank you. So I see a lot of comments going by, and Manny, you get a gold star because you're even engaging in the comments and talking about books while we're in the midst of all of this. And I love that. Oh, and it's even on his table. Look at that. It's like you planted Ryan in his question. So Kieran, now I want to come to you and talk about the idea of fast IT. And as we're, again, headed into this climate, how does finding value quickly attached to our IT initiatives become even more important? But before we do that, I want you to actually define what you mean when you say that term. Another little catchphrase of Kieran's.
Yeah, it's not actually mine. I wish it was, if that makes sense. The actual term comes from a chap called Varga Moayed. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right. Moayed. He was the chief strategy officer of UiPath, and now is a hyper automation evangelist, business startup follower and everything, or supporter. But he compared what we're seeing in the fashion industry. In other words, clothes are manufactured reasonably inexpensively. They're not meant to last forever. But they do have a purpose, and they normally have a purpose for 12 to 18 months. What he is describing, as well as using that analogy, is that IT systems, as we have seen, the digital economy is moving a lot faster. When you start to look at digital natives like Uber and Airbnb and TikTok and Snowflake and whatever else, you see that they move at a pace that other organizations don't or can't. And I say can't because chances are they've got legacy IT systems that are really slowing them down. But what we get in the modern digital economy today is the need to digitize and change everything pretty much every 18 months, which is where the fast fashion analogy comes in. Now, you're asking, is that even possible? Well, I think what we've seen with workflow technologies like RPA and API platforms, and even AI platforms that are low-code, click-point workflow technologies that are very much designed with the business, IT and business actually working together, becoming co-producers or co-collaborators, that is eminently possible. We're able to do it. It happened during COVID, and it can happen again as long as we don't slow down. And then what you're going to see is, unfortunately, we will see this, recession, we'll see hyperinflation, you will see job losses. The only positive thing, and we have to take something positive out of this, is that organizations will go back to first principles. They'll only invest in things that really make money. They'll start investing in technology and innovation. I love what Kate's saying in there. You can't afford not to innovate, but they will invest in those innovation things. The key thing is, what can you put in place in IT terms that allows you fast to market delivery, fast to market returns? By this, I'm not suggesting that you dump your backbones like your big SaaS-based systems. But equally speaking, those things shouldn't be built in such a way that actually slows you down. You need to generate quick returns from fast IT with people working, and dare I say it, in that original, fast, agile method. We need to get human ingenuity going on steroids over the next period of time. And hopefully, to goodness, come out the other side of the recession that bit leaner, that little bit smarter than before, that little bit more digital. And then the key thing is not going back the way to allowing ourselves to relax back into inefficiency or trying to build IT empires that just will perish too quickly and cost too much money, or need to perish a little bit more quickly, Emma.
I like that you call it an empire. I think that there are some people that really truly look at I am building this thing that will be my legacy forever. But that mindset can be really dangerous when we look at innovation and how quickly things are changing. And the idea that digital transformation isn't a one-time thing. It's a continuing evolution, and that's a mindset shift, I think, for a lot of IT departments kind of across all industries. Manny, I want to come to you now and kind of look at this idea of shiny object syndrome, which I'm sure all of us in the audience and here on the live stream are acutely aware of when we're talking about emerging technologies. But especially when we're trying to kind of fail fast and experiment and be innovative, how do we keep those business outcomes that Kieran just mentioned at the forefront of everything that we're doing and avoid chasing shiny objects?
So first of all, I got to say that that every technologist is going to be susceptible to chasing the shiny object. And part of the reason why we got into this role is because we love technology. We love the new thing. We love being the early adopter of technology. And so you're always going to have a bias as a technologist, and my clients as well. Many of my clients are innovation leaders within organizations, or they're leading innovation throughout the organization. And it's their job to look at the latest tech and to play around with it and to do cool things with it. Now, I think the way that you hedge that is that you go back to principle number one of lean manufacturing, which I think should be applied to lean analytics too, which is starting with the value that you're driving for the customer. That's got to be the number one question that you're asking yourself as you're evaluating all technology. The second principle in lean manufacturing is mapping out a flow of value, working back from that customer value all the way to the source data and the manufacturing floor. And there are usually, it's just a couple lanes and there are different types of nodes. But at the end of the day, you should be able to appreciate why when you do this one thing on this machine, how it downstreams all the way down to creating more value for your customer. So as you're looking at all the different technologies that you can apply, all the different new things and features that the vendors are pushing your way, I think the right way to approach it is to always say like, okay, if I put myself in the shoes of Bill, and Bill is managing a fleet of vehicles out in on the East Coast, and is this technology, if I were to implement, is this going to create more value for Bill? And how would I do that? How would I map that? How would I use this technology here, and how would it translate downstream to value for Bill? So I think that's step number one is always put that lens of the value that's being created for the customer. I am going to be at CES next month, so the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. So if anybody's going to be there, ping me. Let's try to grab coffee. That would be great. But there's going to be a lot of wild technology there that I'm going to really want to play with and get excited about. And I got to temper that a little bit and say okay, well, which one of these technologies is really going to create that great experience for Bill or Jane out in the field and doing their job. A lot of those folks, they got, real problems to worry about. They got customers to make happy. They may not want VR. They may not want the latest AI machine learning model. So for me, it's always about coming back and saying what would drive the most value for my customer. And in order for me to do that, I have to be obsessed with that customer. So this is something that I tell a lot of my clients, innovation managers, you need to you really need to dig into this persona. Who are they? What are they doing? What's driving them? What are the pain points? And really immerse yourself in that persona so that you're always coming back and you can answer that question correctly in terms of what's going to drive the most value for that end customer.
Great, thank you. And this is going to be a big comment to put on here. I'm just going to show it up there. Ryan's talking about the idea, so go look at the whole comment, but it's going to be distracting to have on the screen. But it's this idea of shiny object syndrome at an executive level.
Yep.
And I wanted to bring this up specifically because it's shiny object syndrome and digital literacy, I think, kind of go hand in hand. So, Manny, you made a great point that a lot of people that are in the technology space are predisposed to be excited about what's coming. But I think the other side of it is we're predisposed to be excited about what's coming, but we also have enough digital literacy to know where we want to ask additional questions or where we might want to poke holes or where that value might be coming from, to ask ourselves those questions of how is it going to help the people in the field, or what is that going to look like, or does it need to mature a little bit more before we bring it into our environment? So for anybody that feels like maybe the executive team is getting distracted by shiny objects because they hear the really great parts, I would certainly encourage you to help them recognize that maybe they need to build up that digital muscle a little bit more and that literacy to understand what questions to ask. My shameless plug to that is that's the whole reason that I've been doing these explainer videos, is to help people understand what types of questions you should be asking or where you're going to see use cases for things. There's plenty of podcasts and articles and things that you can use to kind of help encourage that competency within your organization. And I would certainly encourage that, because I think any level of the organization needs that digital literacy.
And Emma, I'll add to that too. Great comments. I also say that I think what I've seen that as well, and I think that is a symptom of an organization that's reactive to innovation. So you have an executive team that feels behind. They read a really nice write-up in the Wall Street Journal and they send it downstream like, hey, why aren't we doing this? Well, it's because you haven't developed your own plan. You haven't thought about how technologies that are available are going to align with your overall strategic goals. You don't have a portfolio of projects set up. You don't have an innovation leader that's driving POCs every quarter, that's pushing POCs to production every quarter, that is mapping the value to things in production every quarter. You don't have that system in place. So you're going to feel anxious. You're going to feel like you're falling behind, and it's going to have this knee-jerk reaction. Let's do the next shiny thing in the Wall Street Journal. The problem is that that's not sustainable, that's always changing. In order for them to sell newspapers, they always have to have a new shiny object in there. So you're always going to be chasing the latest fad, and it's never going to build core innovation within your technology that's going to make you a competitive company. So great comment there. And I just wanted to add that.
No, that's a really, really good point, that we need to go back to that higher level vision, and also make sure that we have the foundations in place to be able to jump to those innovative technologies. Because if you don't have the right foundations, going back to your point, you're just going to constantly be trying to like chase after what's next. Kate, I want to come to you, and I want to go to like my favorite subject in the whole wide world. And for anybody that knows me knows that that's the change management and people lens of this. So, again, manufacturing, along with many other industries, are known to be a bit slower moving and maybe a bit harder to adopt, maybe not adopt technology, but there's the adage that there's, the folks that are on the manufacturing floor that are hesitant to adopt technology. What have you seen be really great strategies to help bring everybody in the organization along with the adoption of new and emerging tools?
Yes, I love this question as well. And it's super important, kind of related to the other question that you had for me. So I guess ultimately we look at digital transformation as a technology challenge, but it's actually more of a leadership challenge. I think that transformation part is the focus more so than the technology. So getting the change management correct and setting up a tone and a culture in order to perpetuate that over time and sustain it. It's really going to come down to the leadership and the people. Really, you have to create, it's all about, the actual culture that is usually kind of dictated or determined, or at least the vision is set by the leadership. But ultimately, it's up to everybody to have that buy-in. So, people having talent that is constantly curious and loves to learn, creating a culture where you can challenge conventional wisdom, making sure that you're enhancing any collaborative efforts and changing the way your organization is even structured. That'll be a very interesting change that we'll see. The most successful leaders in digital transformation understand how important it is to basically make it so that, the IT team and the business folks and the actual people who are working on the technology themselves or the strategic partners, they're all actually, co-creating versus just being in alignment. They're actually more, I wanted to do a mnemonic because Kieran mentioned mnemonics before. It was instead of alignment, they need to, I wrote it down. Instead of creating alignment, they need to, where is it? We're all going to remember this because I'm adding the apprehension right now. Maybe I won't find it. I'll have to follow back up with it. But
throw it in the comments, Kate. There's no
I'll throw it in the comments. Anyway, we'll figure it out. It had an A in it. So instead of that, we'll finish up the point I was trying to make, though, is that when it comes to change management, you have to be able to make mistakes. You have to be agile. You have to forget your mnemonic. and then just kind of go from there. And the strategic partnerships are going to be really critical in this process as well. Just overseeing a massive tech stack usually, which is what's likely to happen as we are continuously implementing more and more technologies. We'll need to make sure that we have the right, whether it's a startup or a consultant or expert in the space to help guide us. And that will also enable us to get through these changes in a smoother manner.
Great. So, Kieran, I want to come to you. We've got 5 minutes, so you can't go on forever. But as we are heading into this time of a little bit of scariness that's attached to the idea of a recession, I want to pick your brain from all your years of experience on suggestions that you have for organizations as they're looking to partner. So Kate brought up earlier that that's a really great way to kind of help offset resourcing internally. But then also when we're looking at emerging technologies, the likelihood that you've got the folks in-house to manage that implementation entirely on your own is not high. So what suggestions do you have for companies as we are being careful and wise with our money on how to find the right partners to help manage emerging technologies?
Okay, let me try and do this in 3 minutes, and you can always jump back in and shout at me. Look, I've probably been through what I would describe as 4 recessions: the year 2000, the 2007 crash, the dot-com bust. All those times businesses have restructured. And a lot of times, sounds awful, and I don't mean it in a bad regard because I never like to see businesses going to the wall, but you definitely see recessions clearing out weak companies. You free up capital and you actually free people up for better purposes, although it doesn't feel like that at the time. But it really is, from a concentration, a regeneration, a realignment point of view, really good. You know, dare I say, better leaders come out the other end, better leaders as well as businesses come out the other end, actually, because it's easy to lead in good times. It's not so easy to lead in hard times, but the lessons serve you well. You know, I normally find during these times that businesses actually look at all their business models, how they're constructed, whether they outsource. Remember, 20 years ago, outsourcing took off because of the last recession. I think this time that automation will really take off because of this, and most people tend not to move. It seems horrible, but true, you know, unless there's a burning platform or some emergency underneath them. But I think we should get time and money actually been put into automation, and then any other AI, you name it, take your pick, it'll be there. I think businesses will need to run fast. That goes to that fast IT to survive. What are the recommendations and advice? Get your business fit. That might mean a variety of things, but the key one is just focus on projects that deliver profit. I'm a huge fan of Pareto. 80% of the stuff that you're doing and the projects you're working on probably aren't adding any actual real value in that. So look at what's making profit. Keeping happier customers, keeping happier staff, because you will need those. Work to be as operationally as efficient as you can to free up some capital to actually invest in technology. By that, you know, go around your business now, checking whatever licenses you use and see if everybody you're using them. Remove activities that don't add value. Look at all the projects and the time that are spent on things and work out the 80% that's actually a waste. Look at duplicate roles, duplicate software, duplicate environments. They're spread over the business. You know, create some center of expertise if you can. Identify your best projects, your best partners, and your best people. Really work with them to try and drive value. Be really quick. If a project isn't adding value, make very fast decisions. Go back to what Manny was saying earlier on. Have a range of projects setting up and available. Someone once came up with the rule of 10. I can't remember the name of the group, but it was like 2 biggies that are going to be there for long term. You invest big. 3 to 4 medium size. You know they're coming. They're going to add value. And then 4 to 5 very fast wins that you can get out the door as well. And some of those will be delivered by yourself, and some of those should be through contract resources. And one thing I'm seeing, and you've probably seen some of this from OG and the team, his team at IAC, outcome-based models. In other words, hire a vendors taking on the risk instead of you. If they don't deliver what they say they're going to deliver, then you don't actually pay them. Continuously, ruthlessly, and I use that word deliberately, prioritize what you got. Complete projects, kill off weak projects as fast as you can. Don't go backwards when all this is over. In other words, stay lean, not mean. Very different between the two. And the key bit here is the thing that will get you through this is your people. Paint a bright and shiny picture as to where a beautiful future will be. Otherwise, you'll lose your best people in the future. Don't treat them as a cost. Treat them as an IT investment, and they will reward you when you're honest and open with them.
The fact that you could say duplicate 3 times in a row with different words after it without messing it up is like the highlight of my day today.
My job is done.
Well, with that, you hit right on the money. We're about 30 minutes in now, and as is always the case, it felt like it went very quickly, but that doesn't mean that the conversation in the comments needs to stop. So keep going in there. I already see both Manny and Kate throwing stuff in there, and Kate found her words. Of course, that's always what happens. I'm surprised it wasn't at 2:00 in the morning tonight, but like you got it, and you got it quicker than I would have. So thank you everybody for joining us. Manny and Kate, thank you so much for being here. And as always the case, happy Third Thursday, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.